and welcome back to the Eternal Self podcast. And today is the seventh day of Navratri, and we continue our conversation on walking with Devi as our eternal friend and guide. So often, last time we talked that we often place Mata on a faraway pedestal, worshipping her in temples and invoking her through rituals. But what happens when we shift that relationship? Dina last time touched upon when we walk with Devi as a companion in our daily lives, when we see her not as an abstract goddess in some faraway distance, but as the intelligence that lives through our thoughts, our creativity, our everyday struggles, and even our breath. So, as in the Sri Suktam, I often refer to the Sri Suktam where it's mentioned that true wealth is not simply gold and silver, but the five elements that sustain life and creation. So, these 9 days of Navratri, they remind us that every moment can be charged with her presence. If we are willing to walk with that awareness, to listen and to receive her guidance in every waking and sleeping moment. Today, I'd like to explore with Dina what it truly means to awaken the Devi within, how to recognize those subtle signs, how to understand the deeper treasures that she bestows, not just in prosperity, but wisdom, creativity, patience, and grace. So, without much further ado, I would like to invite Dina to yet another episode of the Eternal Self. So, welcome back, Dina. Namaste, and great to have you again on this episode of The Eternal Self.
Happy to be here again.
Thank you. So, Dina, last time we went into this beautiful discussion around how to befriend the Devi, not to leave her at a pedestal somewhere out there, but as your constant guide and friend. And I've been living with that feeling for the whole week, and it's a beautiful feeling. And I'm curious to probe further and talk more about how do we bring that awareness into our lives more and more. And also, there are questions in my mind around these 9 days of Navratras.
Well, it's very important to enter into a personal relationship with whichever divine being one feels drawn to, which means having a just like you would any friend, bringing that divine being into your life. And so it's not just going to a temple and doing pujas. It's entering into a conversation like you would with any friend about what's going on with your life. Visualizing the for me, when I'm writing about Sita, it's Sita. Whichever divine being I'm writing about, that's the being that I'm in relationship with during that period. And it's of a whole different quality than what we're used to in terms of doing pujas and honoring a divine being that is at a distance and not our dearest companion. And I actually learned this. I learned this from my own relationship with my guru, because I think the relationship with the guru is a model of how we should be with any of the divine beings. I mean, the guru is your dearest friend who knows everything about you and wants you to turn to him or her for guidance, for counsel, for just anything that you need a friend for. And so I've always looked at my guru as my dearest friend, my closest friend, in the body or not, doesn't matter, my dearest friend. And I began to look at Mahalakshmi, who for me manifested as Sita, in the same way. And that's how Sita presents herself. And in writing the untold story of Sita and in writing Sita's yoga, I tried to show how Sita's relationship was and is with everyday people, with us. we tend to hear stories of how they were with the sages or with the sort of like the grand figures of that epoch. But in actuality, the avatars take birth for us, for each one of us, to help us awaken. And so I try to present a guide of what that relationship can be. And so that's what my new book is really about, Sita's Yoga, of how Sita interacted with the people of her time and how she became that divine friend.
Hmm.
So
Right,
it's a matter of attention. Once we seek to do it, just as you would with any dear friend, any companion, you apply the same approach applies to these divine beings.
right. And another question, Dina, that I have is that then why these specific 9 days? What's so special about these 9 days? Shouldn't that, I mean, every day is the day of the Devi, of the creator. So how does this different, these 9 days, what is the significance?
Oh, so in the tradition, days are set aside where you can exclusively focus. So Shivaratri is a time to really focus on Shiva and Parvati, to really focus on what that divine force is and how that divine force manifests in our life, how that divine force can be a guide in our awakening journey. And it's the same thing. So we have Ram Navami, we have different days to really pour our energy um, into the who that what that divine energy is without and within. And so we have these 9 days of Navratri because the purpose of this is to look at all the different manifestations of that divine Shakti energy. She manifests, through Durga. She meant through Saraswati, through Mata Lakshmi. So, and at different times in our journey, we need different aspects of that energy. If we need to awaken that force, that willpower, we might turn to Durga. If we need to reinforce the creative energy, we might turn to Saraswati. So we call upon the different energies of that divine Shakti. So these 9 days are set aside to really look within. As I said last time, it's a time for reflection within of how to awaken those energies within ourselves.
Right. Beautiful. And Dina, people experience as you deepen your spiritual journey and you're in meditation, people experience fragrances, people experience sounds. Uh, what exactly do they signify? I mean, in one place in Yoga Sutra, it is said that these are light posts or distractions and thing, but there must be a significance for these kind of experiences to come about, right? Is there a meaning behind, like, is there a, how do you see them? Okay.
Oh, yes, we get responses. So when we call upon the divine, we get responses, and they could be subtle and they manifest in different ways. It could be a fragrance, and I've experienced that many times. And the way I look at it is not to get lost in it, but to take it as a sign that you are in relationship. It's not a one-way relationship. It's a mutual relationship. The mutuality of the relationship is key to remember that it's not just you speaking to the air. You are speaking um, to a powerful divine force that we are nothing but that. So it is within us, and it's in everything, and that power is responding to you. It's responding. He or she, however you're envisioning that force, is responding to you. And so these signs are comforting, inspiring, encouraging, but we don't stop there. We just take it as an acknowledgement that you are being, that you're not in a one-way relationship, that there is a response. And I think that's what we all need we all need to affirm that and to have confirmation that it's not just a one-way dialogue.
Right. Beautiful. And okay, next question, Dina, is that how does Mata Lakshmi, in what forms do her blessings come about? Like, in how does that reflect in one's life when they're deeply devoted and dedicating to any divine form? Uh,
Manifests differently for everyone. And most often, we don't make the connection. For example, a young man came to see me yesterday from Los Angeles. He had been praying. He had finished school, and he's from India, but he wanted to have a job in the U.S., which is getting harder to get. And he had been praying, and he went to the ashram of my guru in Los Angeles, Yogananda's place. And soon after that, he got a job offer from a company that was a great gift for him. He recognized that. He made the connection.
Yes.
Aha, I went there and I did this, and then this came. Most often, we don't make the connection because you're not thinking, oh, yes, I did make that prayer. You're just thinking, oh, wow, this happened to me. This is good luck. Good fortune came my way. And so, it can manifest in numerous ways, whatever you need at that time. And I think the important thing is to recognize the response because the divine always responds. But often the responses are subtle, or they may be overlooked, or you might not make the connection, or might not be the way that you're looking for. And so I think it's being mindful. This whole thing of being mindful of what's going on in your life is very important to pay attention. And then once you begin to see signs, you realize you are in a relationship. It's a relationship with the divine.
And sometimes we ask for something, but we don't get it. And I got consumed. There was a phase in my life where I got consumed with this idea that if you look at it, you always have what you need if one starts to evaluate at some level, and that is the surrender effect. And you know and I started to see that logic everywhere in my life, that whatever I, or anybody for that matter, even a bird doesn't go hungry. A bird is not working to find its food, but still I feel nature takes care of every little creation uh, in itself. So
We also have to go through tests. And so if you're wanting something in particular, I want that job or I want that relationship, and it doesn't manifest, well, maybe it's for the best, but you can't see it in that moment. But maybe 5 years later, you'll say, wow, it's a good thing because something else came to me, that was much better actually. So we have to look at the bigger picture long term and know that what's coming to us is exactly what we need in that moment for the next step on our journey. It may not be what we want, but it may be what we need. And we also have to deal with, and not getting it exactly the way we think it should be.
yeah,
Most of us, at some time in the life, I mean, we can't get everything that we want because that's not for our highest good. So what we should aspire for is what is for our highest good.
yeah,
What will help us learn the lessons we need to learn? What will help us in the next step on our journey? Not what will necessarily fulfill my desires, but what is best for me in terms of my soul journey. That's what we should aspire for. And it doesn't always coincide with what, oh, I want this or I want that, because who knows why we want that, It may just be a short-term thing.
yes, yes. And in your books, when you've talked about, that Mata Sita helps you uh, get past your previous life karmas and evolve into the next level of growth and everything. Now, how does that, how does that actually panned out in your life, for example, in those births? Or give us a, some kind of a, how it looks like, what does she help you
In
understand?
terms of working through karma,
Yes.
well, in the new book, Tita's Yoga, I go through that extensively. In fact, the whole book is about that, about how Sita works with people to help them resolve their karmic issues. And at that time, a lot of it was relationship based. And there are many examples of it actually, of two individuals who at several lifetimes in the past couldn't get it together. They loved each other but couldn't get it together. And finally they do get it together. And Sita has been a force in helping them resolve those unfinished desires and tendencies. And so, I mean, I once said there was an ideal couple that I knew, and I once said, you are an ideal couple of what a partnership should be. And they looked at each other and then said to me, "It's taken us many lifetimes to get to this point. We've had numerous tries that didn't work out. But in this life, because they were they were devotees, they were spiritually mature enough that they could really appreciate each other and come together in a beautiful way. So I think that's true. I think that we see that in many relationships. There are couples that are still working on issues, and then you find that couple where they just are seem to be so harmonious and ideal. Well, clearly it's something that they've worked on in the past,
Mm.
and this applies to every aspect of our life, to our work. When I was younger, I wanted to be a writer, but I had to go through many, many different chapters to get to where I am today. Writing the business, being a writer, hire, not what I wanted to do. I was working on my skills through all of that. I didn't see it at that time, how those jobs were helping me get to the point where I could write about the it was deepest to me. And then when my memories began to come back, I said, aha, now I have something to write about. So it took many decades. And I tell that to young people that you take a job, it may not be your life's work. You're in training. And that job will lead to another job, will lead to another job. And then finally, you'll be able to see how you've built all the skills and the networks that you really can do what your heart's desire is.
Yes, I've experienced that in my life also, Dina, when so
And
many things
you
have,
know,
yes.
if the Devi becomes your companion in that, then you develop trust and you can see that she's guiding you along the way.
Right. Brilliant. Just one final question, Dina. It's been on my mind. I discovered that, like in the Hanuman, the mantra, it said that he's Asht Siddhi Nav Nidhi Ke Data. Basically, he's bestowed with eight siddhis and nine treasures. And I learned very recently that Mata Lakshmi bestowed that blessing on Hanumanji, the eight siddhis and navnidhis. Is there anything that you'd like to share on that topic?
No, I think from what I can gather, and I can only speak from my point of view, is that there was a very deep and loving relationship with Mata Sita and Hanuman. Just as she had a very deep and loving relationship with Lakshman, there was a very deep bonding, and Hanuman, as I show in some instances, um, uh, remained as part of her life even when she retreated to the forest. When she needed him, he would appear because Hanuman traveled the world. He was both with Ram and he was everywhere. And whenever she needed him for something, he would appear to her. And so that doesn't surprise me. I hadn't heard of that, but it doesn't surprise me that she bestowed those treasures on him and those gifts because she is the bestower of treasures.
Yes, of course. Who else other than her, actually? Yes. Brilliant.
And I mean, I look at the memories that I've reclaimed and I attribute it to her. That's her gift to me, is to able to retrieve my memories from the past. And she also provides sight into the future. And that there are many examples of that in the new book about it's not only memories of the past, but foresight of the future. You can see where people's journey will take them. And this main character in the book is able to help many people because she can see through Sita's guidance what their next birth will be and what their trajectory is and how they could resolve issues so that they don't have to deal with them in the future, that they will have a better future. That's part of the work of the guru as well, is not
Wow.
only to help you resolve karmic conditions, but to create the conditions for the future where you can have optimal conditions for the future so that you can awaken more quickly. So as just as we look at the past, we have to also think of ourselves. There's one part of the book which I think about a lot actually, where you have to awaken that future self. Who is it you want to be in the future? you awaken that energy within yourself. Just as we see our past and put to rest our past, we have to awaken our future because we are shaping it and we are moving into it. And I think I have to end with that thought because I
Yes,
have to do
and
my
it's a,
last Navratri reading.
I'm conscious
So
of
we
that.
can
Thank
talk
you.
more about that, the
Yes,
future,
Dina,
how
we're
to
leaving
awaken
it.
our future self.
Yes, we're leaving it at such a beautiful cliffhanger for the next time that we start to construct our future. So, thank you very much for all the lovely insights for today. And I'll see you next week. And happy Dashera and happy Navratras once again.
I hope everyone dives deep into the meaning of Navratri and receives the treasures that are there. See you next week.
See you then. Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.